Yes, sir.
So let's drill down and start with this. We're going to drill down into Intercom 2021 with Sean. I'm not going to try the last name again. I'm sorry, man. I almost said it, but I was like, nah, I know.
Sean K works.
Sean K. We're drilling down with Sean K. And I want to start with this question. From what you learned and your experience at Dietrich and what's happening today at Intercom 2021, what, in your opinion, is actually getting deals closed? Like, where is money actually going right now?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. It's so folks who are here, upstream, midstream, private equity, ESG, renewable, data, law firm, insurance folks. So we were talking about upstream. We'll maybe jump back and forth a little bit. So private equity, for instance, super positive. The few who are here, the few who are talking, they're really positive about how enthusiastic they are in about investment, which isn't what you would think is happening in the market, right? Based on every conversation you hear on the street, it's not always super positive. But kind of to your point of what's selling, free cash flow is selling. Paying down your debt, that's what's selling. And one really interesting thing that has come up is, so there's a lot of emphasis on ESG here. And I know that among the, right around 1,000 people here and across the industry, there are a lot of varying thoughts and opinions about ESG.
Environmental, social governance is what you're talking about, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Environmental, social, and governance. And what's interesting about that is, again, there are varying opinions. Some people love it, some hate it, some want to go with it because their financiers are kind of pushing them, forcing them to do that. I can say at least 80% of the operators who were talking, they talked about their ESG activity to date and their goals and plans for ESG in the future. Some of them, you could tell that they're not necessarily doing it because they love it. One of them actually said, yeah, well, here's our ESG slide. Like, just like that. Like, yeah, it's the obligatory ESG slide. Fair enough. But when your money is coming from elsewhere, without fail, every lender or private equity who was here, and there's some major ones here who have put in $1 to $5 billion into recent ESG funds that they have for oil and gas companies. They very specifically talk about this is your access to capital. If you want 100 million from us, if you want 200 million from us, these are some of the criteria that we look at. And actually, one of them mentioned that I had a quote somewhere, but so I'm kind of paraphrasing. But in our case, so I'll tell you, not a plug, but I work at Embarrass, so I'll share some of my experiences. But I talk to folks about ESG 3-4 times a week at least, and in more cases than not, they care about the E more than S and the G, because they're like, hey, exactly, the environmental, the emissions, greenhouse gas, the flare volumes, and things like that. So they're like, can you show me how much we're flaring? Yes. Can you show me how, benchmark us against others? Yes. Some who want to write their sustainability report care a lot about the social and the governance side as well. But one thing that I found really interesting is that a lot of the PEs, private equities at this conference, one of them very specifically said, we see G, the governance, as the driver of E and S. They said board quality and leadership is essential to company performance. Now, again, I'm reporting here, some agree, some disagree.
I see what you're saying.
But
yeah. I mean, you got the people that are getting paid a lot of money to determine yes or no, right? And then they sit down and come up with how the company should run, and then they make the decision. So that makes sense. That at that level, G is what's really driving it. Environment to me is the rocks, dude. Is the geology. It ain't it is not the people, because the people come up with the emissions and the carbon and then what are we doing with the methane and how bad is that? That's all ideas of the people. The environment is truly the rocks, dude. The environment is what is actually coming out of this ground. What is the gas actually in the elemental level. What are we talking about here? And its impact and all that stuff. The environment, that's what I get out of that anyway for the E and ESG. And then the people, man, the social aspect is a big deal. And it starts by educating for sure, educating the people on what the social, what's going on. But at the end of the day, ESG is all about just becoming more efficient. Stop making safety issues, stop making problems, become more efficient, make more money, become more respected again by the investors and all that stuff. So I think ESG as a whole is all about just becoming more efficient.